Good morning and welcome to Beyond the Lines podcast. I'm your host, Nikki Watson, on this wonderful Monday. How are we doing here? Actually, let's see. How's that? This is wild here. Okay. Welcome. Lots to cover today. We are going to hope for the best, and here we go. I hope everybody had a really good weekend. And we're going to get right into our fabulous show. Oh crap, did you guys not hear the music? Because I muted it. Did you not hear the music? Okay, I just had to take a phone call. Okay, what going on? Hold on. Let's do this here. Okay, very good. we'll get to the point where we can lower the music, and that'll be great. So we're going to read through this article right here, and we're going to read, awaiting the 20-point plan, is Trump's Gaza Humanitarian Foundation ethnically cleansing Palestinians? This was written on October 4th. The survival of Palestinians in Gaza is not merely a matter of daily sustenance, but forms the material foundation for any future Palestinian state. And so if you're not familiar with Joaquin Flores, he's educated in the field of IR and IPE at California State University, Los Angeles. He previously served as a business agent and organizer for the SEIU labor union and has published internationally on subjects of geopolitics, war, and diplomacy, serves as the director of the Belgrade-based Center for Syncretic Studies, and is chief editor of Fort Russ News. So the really interesting thing too about his perspective is that he comes from the left, but he also comes from this invested interest in the outcome, in a way that very familiar with the points and the relationships and the interdynamics and really how it's evolved over the decades. And something that he has said he was very well aware of, 40 years ago. And so most of us that are looking at this today, sadly, don't understand the depths of this conflict, and then what has led to today. But let's read. In the wake of Trump's rolling out a 20-point plan to end the war in Gaza, it is critical to continue humanitarian assessments based on the fact that between now and its implementation, which itself is not guaranteed, Palestinians today face the threat of mass starvation. While there are reports that Netanyahu has agreed to the peace plan, the history of these matters justifies legitimate concern. There are already signs that Netanyahu is speaking at odds with the plan. This appears to be because it entails the realization of the Palestinian right to self-determination that could ultimately create a Palestinian state. The plan itself also calls for the immediate widespread resumption of UN food relief and medical efforts across Gaza. However, at this moment, the single largest organization operating in Gaza is the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, an organization that has received widespread criticism in Western official press, UN reports, and rights organizations. Human rights groups and the UN conclude that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's overall aim in Gaza has the effect of creating starvation in order to effect an ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians. Let me just make sure the sound is coming through, right? Let me just make sure that the sound is coming through. I'm sorry. Very good. But a U.S. created program by President Trump, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, GHF, established to feed Palestinians, is receiving negative reception from establishment press, including their televised media, as well as left-wing internet-based media. It has also been directly criticized by the UN itself. On the face of it, this criticism would appear to find justification in two facts. Israel is on paper as a co-sponsor of this initiative, and also that IDF soldiers and U.S. contractors have opened fire at people gathering to receive food from GHF food distribution sites. In other words, a question is posed: is the GHF a real effort to counter the ethnic cleansing by way of starvation, or is it a humanitarian cover for a criminal agenda of depopulation combined with planned on-site shootings to discourage seeking out food? Our impressions boil down to how one reads the reports from the UN, the press, and human rights NGOs in understanding what Netanyahu's aims are. The issue surrounds the GHF's genealogy, where its support comes from, and whatever meaning from which we can best interpret its role. In other words, if this is also Israel's approved food distribution organization, and if potentially they aim to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians from Gaza despite Netanyahu's tentative agreement with Trump's 20-point plan with caveats, then it follows to these distribution sites as are particularly pernicious places to be. No doubt they are, but compared to what? Defining the GHF press problem. One question then is whether the negative press the GHF receives is incomplete and decontextualized in its reporting, or whether reporting on it is done in a manner consistent with how other humanitarian efforts are treated, for example, relief from the UN agencies. This is an important question because the stakes are very high. Is the negative press and Western liberal papers of record designed to contribute to an overall strategy of delegitimizing Trump at the cost of furthering the famine in Gaza? After all, journalism, criticism, and the degree of public support for an endeavor figures into its future access to resources and its lifespan as well. Attacks on the GHF could lead to its defunding at the cost of hundreds of thousands, of not the entire remaining population of Gaza. Such a mass starvation would immediately raise the question of a forced relocation initiated by other concerned parties, not by Israel necessarily, even though it would fit into what human rights groups and the UN have also said is the policy of the Netanyahu government. If the GHF weren't the GHF weren't the largest, or by some accounts really sole remaining food distribution outlet in Gaza, or if there were viable alternatives given Israel's disastrous decision to block the UN, then undermining its work by casting aspersions on its work on the basis of its alleged real threat would be justified and important. It would have the effect of making room for other more credible actors on the ground, but this is not the case. In addition, these same publications have a track record of criticizing Trump, whether it is for being too hawkish or too dovish. Their own narrative inconsistency can frustrate anyone trying to understand the real state of things, when the most consistent approach in the same journalism has been mostly to point out Trump's deficiencies. Whether that criticism comes from left-wing or right-wing talking points, legacy publications of record find unity in focusing negatively on Trump. That history, however, does not answer the question. In this case, does criticizing the GHF better fit into a coherent picture of soft-selling the ongoing humanitarian travesty underway in Gaza at the hands of the IDF? Or are reports using connotative rhetorical devices that lay blame on the GHF for what are instead IDF behavior or orders from higher ups on the Israel side actually working to limit the effectiveness of the GHF? Missing from this context is, among other things, that the policy of Netanyahu is genocide by starvation, followed by forced relocation, not a plan to feed Palestinians, such that there is a 1 in 300,000 chance of a Palestinian being killed while queuing for the same food that keeps them otherwise alive and in Gaza. Assuming some 800 Palestinians have been killed at GAF points in total, while millions every day are fed. This absence of a broader context is expected in politics, but the concern here is that these work to delegitimize the actual GHF effort, which remains today, in reality, the only major organization objectively working against the genocide by starvation project, regardless of reports and declarations that it serves an ulterior purpose. The fact of this reality, in which the GHF is the only real actor, is problematically because Israel only allows the GHF to function. This is indeed the conundrum. Where in any journalistic opinion or advocacy analysis pieces in the Western press have we seen a criticism of the effort that the GHF is forced to work under separate from criticisms that the GHF is a bad faith actor? Where, even if alongside real, if incomplete, reporting on its internal problems and long-term goals for Gaza and concerns about contribution to or legitimizing the Israeli invasion of Gaza, do we find a call for pressure on the IDF to ease off the GHF food distribution sites? Why cannot this separate point be articulated or advocated for? Perhaps because of the GHF's backers is Israel. Perhaps because of one of the GHF's backers is Israel, which connects us immediately to the accusations of trying to starve out the entire population. This treats its government monolithically and does not address differences between Bennett and Lapid with those of Netanyahu. Um, Together with the smaller Democrats, Labor Party leader Yair Golan, they have advocated for bringing the hostages home, ending the war now, and establishing a reconstruction norm. Reports in Israeli press indicate Trump triangulating against Netanyahu and looking to align with Bennett, who also have to add the Trump factor. The establishment media are not Trump allies. Trump's 20-point plan for Gaza between Likud and the Arab League. The public unveiling of the 20-point plan makes the question of food relief now so critical, with world focus now on the details of the plan, which do include the resumption of relief and also whether all parties will really agree. It is easy to overlook that the situation for the Palestinians in Gaza is dire and that disease and starvation are the biggest risks to survival between now and any realization of the peace plan. Those targeting GHF distribution sites, whether as humanitarians in journalism or UN reports, or in the opposite form of IDF soldiers carrying out orders to fire upon the civilians, are in a way both acting against the core Gaza reconstruction objectives, which Trump has approved. How so? These call for no displacement of Palestinians and a right of return to those who temporarily relocate. This is in line with what is known of the Arab League's Gaza reconstruction plan adopted at the Cairo summit in March of this year, a plan that President Trump's chief negotiator, Wickoff, had expressed a degree of optimism towards. That optimism appears realized in Trump's 20-point plan. The GHF forms a key part of the initiative, advancing goals contrary to Netanyahu's starvation policy, even as it aligns with other Israeli business and governmental interests that are in agreement with the Arab League towards the rebuilding of Gaza. One can reasonably conclude that Netanyahu's policy was to implement the logical outcome of total Palestinian population displacement and starvation, colonize Gaza with Israeli and global investment, satisfy radical settler groups, and bring forth his vision of a larger Israel. This is at odds with both the Arab League summit plan from Cairo earlier in the year and Trump's 20-point plan now as well. It has been Netanyahu that has refused comprehensive hostage release proposals from Hamas and has been the one calling for gradual release in ones and twos. Disagreements within Israeli political structures have also been profound. His legal problems aside, though not unrelated, with the Israeli opposition repeatedly calling on him to free all the hostages all at once and bring an end to the war, contrary to Netanyahu's policy. Counteracting Netanyahu's policy. Netanyahu's policy toward Gaza had from the outset relied on the systemic use of starvation as a means of achieving demographic and political objectives. This strategy has involved restricting access to essential food and humanitarian services in order to force Palestinians to leave their homes, undermine the social fabric, and make the establishment of a Palestinian state practically impossible. In this environment, the IDF and U.S. contractors operating in Gaza have openly received orders that are widely regarded as illegal under international law, including firing upon civilians at the periphery of aid distribution sites. Reports from contractors themselves confirm that these orders are often issued without legitimate pretext, and recent promotions within the IDF have been tied to loyalty in the Likud party, further reinforcing the politicized nature of military operations in the region. While Israel's connection with the GHF can be a large part of the framing that works to treat its project as a distraction front for a war crime, these general narratives do not give the subject the granularity and nuance it requires. Narratives can be compelling, but facts should also be allowed to speak. Currently, the GHF delivers up to 2 million meals a day, the same number that need food aid, reaching the population most at risk from starvation, including internally displaced persons and families living under siege conditions. The operation of the GHF has been deliberately structured to maintain access under these constraints, providing a tangible mechanism for survival in a context where other humanitarian organizations have been largely incapacitated. The choices surrounding the locations of the GHF distribution sites can be interpreted various ways. It is accurate to say that these are placed in ways that require Palestinians to move into IDF-approved areas of the Strip. There is no reason to doubt that these can be used to tie into a plan to ultimately locate Palestinians to a small part of the Gaza Strip near Rafah, to concentrate them into camps such that they can be transported out of Gaza against their will, ethnically cleansed. At the same time, the existence of these food distribution sites allows the population to, in fact, stay, leaving various actual post-conflict possibilities very open and realizable. After all, Palestinians would be generally forced to leave areas which the IDF had already leveled for practical reasons alone. The scale of the destruction is totalizing and easily constitutes a war crime. Trump's 20-point plan relies on the reconstruction of all of Gaza to be for the benefit of Palestinians. 2, Gaza will be redeveloped for the benefit of the people of Gaza who have suffered more than enough. The collapse of UN and international aid. Prior to the establishment of the GHF, international aid efforts in Gaza were insufficient to meet the scale of need. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency was capable of distributing approximately 330,000 meals per day. Since March 2nd, 2025, the UN RWA was banned from entering Gaza by the Israeli government. As of September 23rd, 2025, most all organizations have ceased food distribution operations in Gaza due to ongoing blockade conditions and lack of access, leaving the GHF as the sole operational lifeline for the approximately 2.1 million Palestinians who require daily food assistance. While Israel nominally exercises operational oversight over GHF distribution sites, this oversight does not prevent the IDF from attacking the periphery of these locations. Contractors continue to report orders to fire upon civilians attempting to access aid, creating an environment in which GHF operations proceed under constant threat and demonstrate resilience despite significant logistical and security challenges. Conclusions on Trump's intervention versus Netanyahu's strategy. The establishment and continued operation of the GHF represents a direct intervention against Netanyahu's broader plan of population reduction through starvation. By creating humanitarian infrastructure capable of functioning under siege conditions, the Trump administration effectively split the Israeli right and forced Netanyahu to contend with both domestic and international scrutiny regarding the treatment of Palestinian civilians. In contrast, the Biden administration and Vice President Kamala Harris offered public statements in support of Palestinian rights, but failed to implement actionable mechanisms to replace UN operations already reduced at the time. This divergence in policy highlights the unique role that the GHF has played in preserving life and maintaining the material conditions necessary for Palestinian self-determination, while also doing so through a vehicle that Netanyahu was cornered into signing off on. In many ways, the reconstruction plan, where Palestinians remain, rebuild, and are the main beneficiaries of, relies on the GHF to succeed. Humanitarian stakes and political implications. The survival of Palestinians in Gaza is not merely a matter of daily sustenance, but forms the material foundation for any future Palestinian state. Forced displacement, whether through famine, siege, or military intimidation, undermines the ability of Palestinians to remain in place, preserving the social and economic structures necessary for self-determination. The GHF's provision of 2 million meals per day constitutes the critical intervention preventing large-scale mortality, forced relocation outside of Palestine. The operational challenges are significant, including navigating the blockade, security risks from the IDF and contractors, and logistical constraints. Yet the fund continues to provide the lifeline that UN and international agencies can no longer deliver. With a peace looking closer than before in regards to the 20-point plan, it nevertheless remains critical to understand the nature of the food crisis in Gaza. Without the GHF, there is no alternative mechanism which Israel has effectively allowed exist to feed the population. While it may serve a negative function in one potential outcome along a realization of Netanyahu's plan, to the contrary, provided that Palestinians are fed and not displaced from Gaza, means that any outcome contrary to Netanyahu's plan can be realized, including Trump's 20-point plan or any variation of the Arab League plan, which we understand now are much closer together in all ways and cut against Netanyahu's plan of relocating Palestinians out of Gaza permanently. Although this places the GHF in a different light than is given in many and numerous accounts and highlights the very same divisions around Gaza food relief, which define the factions surrounding. Hold on, I'm sorry, I'm going to reread that. Altogether, this places the GHF in a different light than is given in many and numerous accounts and highlights the very same divisions around Gaza food relief, which define the factions surrounding a potential development and a peace deal itself. Thank you, XF. Okay, so check that out. I'm going to put the link for that in the description. Yep. I'm going to put the link for that in the description. And then here in our last about 20 minutes or so, we're going to review or watch Hag Inc. So so Hag Inc. is generally like an umbrella essentially. I know we're switching topics, but these actually go together. XF has just done incredible work just in his analysis, in his ability to write and express ideas and connect thoughts and ideas in a way that almost when you listen to it, it almost seems like, oh yeah, that makes complete sense. Like, why haven't I seen that before? Or why haven't I read that? Or why, like, it's a total resonating with common sense. And I don't want to use the word neutral because we all have sort of this lens that we view the world on, and this perspective that we have, and the biases we have, and our lived experiences, and all the things that we care about, you know. But when you watch content online, you know, and we learn this about legacy media, right? But we still have this online space where everybody has, you know, going down from our kids watching TikTok videos to, like, they have an agenda, right? They're there to get views. They're there to create content, to do entertainment. Like, everybody has a bias and an agenda, right? It's not objective journalism. It's not objective content. It's everybody has, and you might get more nuance in some places or others, but he's really been able to do so much of what we have not been able to get from a lot of the information space. And it's been so helpful for me over the years. And so many I know would agree and have commented on his channel of the ways that his work has impacted just understanding these ideas, but resonating with, again, that it's there's more to the story, right? There's this nuance, and you can only do that in the way that he's doing. You know, because everybody now, with all this, with the influencers, with the getting paid to write posts, like, all this is coming out into the information space. Like, of course people get paid to write posts. Of course they get paid. They don't necessarily get paid to write on a certain topic necessarily. They get paid to post about the things that they because that's what they think, because that's what their content is generated, or what their content is. But I was watching a guy on X, I forget his name, as an influencer. He's saying that he's gotten offered to post things that he doesn't agree with or that he doesn't believe in. But he knows a ton of people that post things that they don't believe in and that they don't agree with for money. I mean, we don't, you know, we're like, oh, that's, you know, that's, I would never do that, but that's the business, that's the industry. And so anyway, to get clear ideas, where are those to get clear ideas? So anyway, so Heather Cox Richardson, in Hag Inc., because on Saturdays she does this show with her friend Joanne something, who's also another historian, or I don't know, and a professor. So anyway, we had this really big event happen on, I think it was Monday, when Benjamin Netanyahu came to the Oval Office, right? There's that picture of him on the phone with Qatar, apologizing for the strikes that he did into Qatar. You know, President Trump sitting there, Netanyahu sitting next to him on the phone. And then comes the press conference and all that stuff. And then just the back and forth there. And then the proposal, the 20-point plan. And then, you know, people, you know, the Qataris signing on, and just all the things that we've seen. Richardson did not post, right? She's supposed to be like this historical record where she's taking the official record, right? She's taking from the official legacy media, and days go by and she doesn't talk about this meeting at all. Weird. Why would why would she not comment? You know, she's talking about well, here, let's just go to her page. I'll just share with you here. Here we go. So let's see, this was Tuesday. Oh, here we go. Okay. So this was October. Okay, so Tuesday. Okay, so she always posts, like, I don't know who's posting. I don't know who's doing her posts for her. She acts like she's doing them. She doesn't always do them herself. Let me see here. What is going on? Let's see here. It's either her comms person, okay, because she lives in Maine. Richardson lives in Maine, on the East Coast. So if she's posting, so like her whole letters from an American was all, the whole gimmick and the whole marketing thing about it was that it was like, you know, this like nightly newsletter that was being sent to everybody's inbox at night so that they could, you know, feel warm and cozy about the world. Such a, like, isn't that just like the liberal, you know, like, feel cozy about the world. You know, we're doing our part, right? We're doing our part. We're very virtuous and we're doing our part. So anyway, to make you feel really good about the world, and about everything, and this nightly newsletter, right? So anyway, so she'll post, it'll be like 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's like, don't read this, or, you know, you can read this before you go to bed, or I wouldn't read this before bed. It's like, who's reading? So is it also targeting to the East Coast or to the West Coast, or to people in other countries? Because we noticed in the comment section that there's like just a ton of comments too from like people from other countries. So who is she talking to when she's saying, like, you know, maybe you don't read this one? And then it was obvious in one of the posts that that she did not post it. It was somebody else that actually posted it on her behalf, it would seem. So anyway, so oftentimes, you know, she's just doing this copy and paste from legacy media and the liberal intelligentsia and, you know, the standard narrative, which is what, and for confirmed sources, and for what is the word I'm looking for? Not official sources. So that's why the whole thing, when she was talking about the Groyper, was just, and she never retracted that, but it was just so interesting because it was like, I thought you were doing the official story, but no. So because the governor, we already went through all of that in one of our past episodes. So anyway, we're just seeing all of this. We're just tracking it. So Monday comes, and this was after this big meeting. So is the shutdown, like, what is going on? All of her posts, her whole copy and paste was about the shutdown. After we all saw the big meeting with again, Benjamin Netanyahu, this whole thing, like, this is so important to so many people to obviously address the crisis and the genocide that is happening and to end the conflict. But also, this has to do with politics inside the United States. I mean, this has been a longstanding issue. This is just, it goes along so many things that has to do with Charlie Kirk. So there's just a lot of variables here that are involved in this Israel-Palestine question. And then what is happening, what we're witnessing unfolding between these efforts with President Trump, the administration. So anyway, she's talking about the shutdown. Like, yeah, we get it. Like, but the government shuts down, you know, this isn't new. So, yeah. Okay. I mean, and this is what people voted for. So they always try and say this year's cuts to the government workforce will mean the loss of at least 275,000 workers, the largest decline in civilian federal employment in a single year since World War II. So they always like to do like the Democratic Party propagandists. Is this what you voted for? Right? It's like, hey, Trump supporters, is this what you voted for? Yeah, I would say this is what Trump voters voted for. I would say this is what they voted for. So, but anyway, she doesn't say anything about. Wait, did she talk about the Reaper video? No, and the cowbell? No, we'll get to that one. Okay. So this was Monday. I'm sorry. Yes, she posted it 1 a.m. the day after. So, but it was for Monday. Okay. Then she says, I totally forgot it was Tuesday. I'm so sorry. I can't jump on now because I'm at a gig. And she did say that she was at like some sort of public speaking engagement. She didn't realize it. She didn't realize that she was supposed to do like her politics chat or whatever she normally does. Okay. So then Tuesday, oh, this is the one where she still doesn't mention that Benjamin Netanyahu was there. She doesn't mention the 20-point plan or anything like that. But what she does address is, right, the whole meeting with the generals, right? This is a big deal for them to cover. They want to cover those. Okay. Wait, is this where she talks about, they're so offended and upset that like Pete Hegseth said, like, you're going to have to do, like, you're going to have to take fitness tests. Okay. So this is falling downstairs. Okay. Hold on. I mean, I would almost say like it's not worth reading, but it almost is, just so you can get a sense of the, you know what I mean? Like what's happening, what we're actually witnessing. It's almost just like you have to see it for yourself, sort of a thing, is what I mean. Yeah, so this is all about shutting down the government and still not talking about it. The masked ICE agents, I fear President Trump believes in the American people. Right. Okay. Okay. So day 2 of still not mentioning the efforts to end the genocide in Gaza, right? Which you would think she doesn't talk about anything in the Middle East, because she says she does like American politics, except when she's talking about Ukraine. They advocate for Zelensky in Ukraine, but except when she's talking about that. So we're just looking at, we're just taking what we get. Okay. So then we go to Wednesday, and this is again, wait, this is about the deep fake of that faked set. Oh my God, I had to do it to read this. Last night, as the government, this was for Wednesday. Okay, so this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. This is day 3 now of not mentioning, or I think she mention it at the very end? Hold on, let me see. I forget. Yeah. Wait, yeah, no. So this is day 3 of not mentioning the. Oh, she did mention it. Okay, so it took her 3 days. Okay. All right. Better than we thought. Okay. Last night, as the government barreled toward a shutdown, President Donald J. Trump posted yet another doctored video on social media. This one showed House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries reacting to Trump's deepfake video of September 29 that faked Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer attacking Democrats and racial minorities, and showed Jeffries sporting a Mexican sombrero and waxed mustache while Mexican music played. Okay, fine. So then we're talking about cuts, blah, okay. And Trump's ballroom project will also continue during the shutdown. That's because it's privately funded. Oh, his ballroom thing. Oh, here we go. Okay, perfect. The agreement appeared to come, an executive order. Oh, here we go. This is finally on day 3. The order, the publication of a new document today shows that the administration has launched another power grab, this one in foreign affairs. Another power grab, this time in foreign affairs. On September 29th, Trump signed an executive order giving to Qatar security guarantees that are much like those guaranteed by the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. You see how she spelled that out for us? Because we are so dumb. We don't know what NATO is. Let me just search. I need to go and search what NATO is. The order says the United States shall regard any armed attack on the territory, sovereignty, or critical infrastructure of the state of Qatar as a threat to the peace and security of the United States. In the event of such an attack, the United States shall take all lawful and appropriate measures, including diplomatic, economic, and if necessary, military, to defend the interests of the United States and the state of Qatar and to restore peace and stability. An executive order is not a treaty and can be overturned by another president, but the declaration of a military commitment to a foreign nation without ratification by the Senate, as the Constitution requires, shows the belief of administration officials that they can act as they wish without consulting Congress. This sounds like funding Ukraine in a way, because we never declared war. What were we doing this whole time? The agreement appeared to come to pass. The agreement appeared to come to pass? No, it did not appear to come to pass. I know that's like your favorite word, Heb, but it didn't appear to come to pass. It did happen after. We don't need to, it appeared that, the killer was, right? The shooter was, right? We're not doing that. It appeared, it actually did come to pass. The agreement appeared to come to pass during the Monday visit. I mean, are they acting like this didn't happen? I almost feel like they're not talking about this. She doesn't want to talk to her audience about this. The agreement appeared to come to pass during the Monday visit of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the White House and likely reflects Qatar's demand for a guarantee that Israel's recent strike on Qatar would not be repeated. But the deal shows just how ill-advised Trump's illegal demand for and then receipt of a $400 billion luxury 747 from Qatar turned out to be. For now, it certainly looks as if Qatar received U.S. military commitments in exchange for a used plane. What would the old left think about this this agreement with Qatar? The reason that I'm asking is because I'm wondering who you're pandering to. Do you think that this, because it doesn't even make any sense what you're saying, because you're using this tone, you are editorializing. I know you think you're just making like statements, but this whole thing's an editorialization. And then I know sometimes you'll be like, well, I'm just editorializing like this one thing you think, right? And I'm just here to help. Like, I'm really just here to help and bring awareness to you, to your comms person, to your team, to your audience, that this is how it's coming across. I'm just offering some feedback. So it was completely insane for Netanyahu to bomb Qatar, right? Okay. So the agreement appeared to come to pass, right? But the deal shows just how ill-advised. That's an opinion, right? You're not just giving the facts. How ill-advised Trump's illegal demand for. Just how ill-advised Trump's illegal demand for and then receipt of. Oh, I see. So but the deal shows, so you're actually taking the executive order that most people agree with, and you're linking it to, but the deal shows just how ill-advised Trump's illegal demand for and then receipt of the luxury plane turned out to be. For now, it certainly looks as if Qatar received military commitments in exchange for a used plane. So you're putting those things together, aren't you? For now, it certainly looks, pretty sure that's where you could use the word appears. It appears as though, right? It certainly looks as if, does it certainly look? Okay. Let's keep going. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Now, I do like to say, oh my God, guys. Okay. So this is her in her black and her dark hoodie. Okay. Because this is the vibe here that we're going for. I actually have a lot to say on this, but I don't want to go into this right now. There's a lot to import. There's a lot here. This will have to be tomorrow. This will have to be tomorrow. Okay. But here we go. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so I do want to talk about this with her dark hoodie, because there's a lot that needs to be said here and shared. So then if we go to the next day, we see there's just a lot of propaganda about the ICE raids and stuff. You can disagree, and we can talk about it. I mean, you can disagree with me. That's about Project, of course, about Project 2025. Okay, but nothing again about the peace plan. This is about because they are worried about a Handmaid's Tale scenario. So they are Trump reiterated his support for Vote's program today, posting, "I have a meeting today with Russ Vought, he of Project 2025 fame, to determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends to be cut, and whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity." Okay, so let's keep going. Okay, so then the next day, still no. Oh, the Reaper. Here's the Reaper video. The Trump account posted another AI video last night as well, set to the music of Blue Oyster Cult's "Don't Fear the Reaper." Okay, so now what she's doing is she is chronicling the Trump Truth Social posts. Although President Donald J. Trump has not appeared in public since Tuesday, his social media account has been posting up a storm. Although he hasn't appeared in public since Tuesday, she doesn't even acknowledge the fact that he did appear on Monday on one of the largest meetings that has to do with, one of the most pivotal and highly contentious topics in the world right now, geopolitically, politically, just the crisis that is happening right now, that she has swept under the rug for this entire time. And that's important to her vote, that is important to her audience. You see what I'm saying? So, you have to just really let her off the hook a lot. You have to let her off the hook a lot. And so I'm just giving some free advice that we should separate putting on the historical hat and where we editorialize, because I think it's conflicting, and I think it confuses people, and you may not even realize that you're doing it, right? You may not even realize you're doing it, Heather. Okay, so although President Trump has not appeared in public since Tuesday, so they're trying to act like he is MIA, like where is he? So they're not talking, they're not bringing attention to the peace plan, and they're trying to make it sound like he is deferring power and authority to unelected people because he has not been. Where is he? Right? Which is strange, because if we look back to the Biden administration, how it was actually happening, right? I mean, Biden was clearly unwell, and they want to make this argument that Trump isn't well. I mean, he is older, but it's not, you did not hold the same standards to the Biden administration as you're holding to the Trump administration. Because Biden deferred to unelected bureaucrats, unelected officials all the time, and actually did not speak to the press often. I mean, he was not as out there as like Trump is, for example. And so it's just strange, again, to be taking this position and holding one side accountable and not to the other side. So, he hasn't been seen since Tuesday. His social media account has been posting up a storm. Just 3 weeks ago, administration officials were insisting the Democrats were responsible for hateful political speech. See, again, dismissing. Shame, shame. Trump's account last night posted images of prominent Democrats, insisting that Democrats were responsible for hateful political speech. But now she's gonna try and say that this is okay. Trump's account last night posted images of prominent Democrats, including former President Joe Biden, with the heading "The Party of Hate, Evil, and Satan." It went on to say the Democratic Party is dead. They have no leadership, no message, no hope. Their only message for America is to hate Trump. That is, I would actually agree with that there is a lot of hate Trump messaging out there. I mean, on Facebook, I see it all the time. It's just like visceral hate Trump. I'm not saying that you're not entitled, that people are entitled to their opinion. It's just that the things that these people claim to care about, they are talking out of both sides of their mouth, right? So they're claiming that this guy is full of hate, but then they are also, though, presenting as hate, right? And so you could say this, but nobody, you could say, oh, the party of hate, evil. You could say they're being hateful by saying, like, we're on this thing, right? We're getting into the semantics, into the rhetoric, but we are aware of the semantics and the rhetoric, and so this is not apples to apples. So the Democratic Party said they have no leadership, no hope. All they have is to hate Trump, right? I mean, that is the party platform. No. The Trump account posted another AI video last night as well, set to the music of Blue Oyster Cult's Don't Fear the Reaper. The video shows Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance as band members, Trump on cowbell and Vance on drums, and features Director of the Office of Management and Budget, Russ Vought, as the Grim Reaper. As the video shows the U.S. Capitol, changed song lyrics say, "Here the power's gone." Under Vought, they say, Russ Vought is the Reaper. He wields the pen, the funds, and the brain. Dems, you babies, gonna tie your hands, won't be able to fly, cry baby, end your plans. We should play that video, actually. We should play that video. All right, so more and more about the undocumented. Oh, right, all this stuff. I mean, this is all just dog. Yeah, I mean, you guys know this is all just dog whistles and talking points. Okay, here we go. This is what we're going to watch a little bit of, and then we're going to wrap it up. Again, just making this, trying to present that, like, everything that Biden did, now they're trying to make it sound like Trump is unwell. Where is he? You know, where he's giving power to unelected officials, unelected people, while ignoring the things that the administration is doing to end the genocide in Gaza and help move forward this situation, right? So completely ignoring that, all the while trying to, again, make up these fabrications. It's very strange. Let's watch.
We look so put together, Joanne.
If only they knew.
They do. There's no doubt they know. Let's chat a little bit until Facebook thing in the world. Literally, underwriting used to be that you would write your name under the names of.
I'm not sure.
What a freaking week, Joanne.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what happens when we have, I mean, we always have freaking weeks, but this has been a freaking week. And I will say that when we have a freaking week of any kind, I do now that we're doing this every Saturday, I always think to myself, wow, what are Heather and I going to focus on Saturday? There's so much.
Well, you know what jumps out to me? I mean, there's many things, of course, just September 30th alone with the shutdown and the generals and all that.
Yeah.
Is where the heck is the president?
Right.
I mean, he hasn't been seen.
What? With all the things going on, the shutdown and the Pete Hegseth talking to the military, which everybody thought there was going to be some sort of hell that was being broke loose. Like, oh, why is Hegseth gathering all this? Why is Hegseth gathering all of the military in one place? Like, oh, it's so suspicious. Like something's going on. And then what went on? What went on is he said, like, it was obviously a smell test, the sniff test in person. But he basically said, you have to pass physical fitness tests, and just rallied him up, whatever. Just gave it to him, and then we will, the wheat from the chaff, right? Those who are on board and those who are not, because these are the times that we are in. And so, no, nothing overt happened, did it? But she's saying, like, where is the president after he just orchestrated this big deal here, trying to do diplomacy, trying to do a peace deal, trying to do public disclosure. But where has he been?
In public since Tuesday. And I don't know, something seems like it's going on.
I know, right. Like everywhere, on a massive seeming level, certainly on a paradey public show level. And yeah, he doesn't appear to be anywhere. He's not, except for the occasional weird posting on social media, he's not really saying anything, is he?
Everywhere.
I mean, has he?
No, he's posting up a storm on social media, which, by the way, if you ever read Truth Social, which is his media platform, it's actually really interesting as a cultural artifact because it's primarily ads, and I would call them low rent ads. There's one I love that is about either cleaning out your gut or your arteries. I confess I can't really tell, but it looks a lot like there's a little undersea creature going through them.
Like Batman.
That's right. But it's got little antennas and stuff. So it's a weird thing that in order to understand what your president is doing, you have to climb through this sort of sludge. And that was an unfortunate term considering what I just described. But there's a lot over there. He's posting a lot over there, but it's really interesting stuff. So in terms of where we might be as a country, but let's start back with where on earth he is, because it really jumped out to me. Well, with this much stuff going on, especially this dramatic shutdown, you would think that a president would be out in front, and he's absolutely not. Instead, what he seems to be doing is quite openly saying Russell Vought, who is the director of the Office of Management and Budget, who does not hold an elected office, is in charge of the entire country. And he literally posted a video yesterday, I guess, or maybe it was the night before. I get confused about the times because I don't seem to have a day or a night anymore. But in which he has Russell Vought as the Grim Reaper and says Congress has no power. And you're like, what is going on here? Are we simply acknowledging that he's a figurehead who's not doing anything the same way, he turned things over to Elon Musk and to Stephen Miller and now to Russell Vought?
Along those lines, you would think along the lines of what you just said, that, all of this stuff is happening and he's nowhere to be found. There are two reasons why even someone who wasn't interested in anything other than themselves might want to be out in public right now. And that would be either to be taking advantage of all the PR, to be saying like, look at what I'm doing. This is all me. I'm in power. I am in control. And, so this is, if you're the kind of president who likes to promote yourself, this would be that kind of moment where you might want to do that. You certainly could. It would be really easy, but you're absolutely right. This is a big moment. Lots of stuff is happening. And he's like,
AWOL.
Yeah.
This is weird. This is weird because Trump just posted a day ago. He posted there was a huge gathering of people. It's now or never. And I forget who hostages. This was a do you guys see it here? This was from a while, this big rally. It's now or never. So he was sharing messaging about end the genocide now, right? Release the hostages, end it all now. And get on with it. Enough is enough, get on with it. And he posted that on his Truth Social. So it's so interesting that they just ignore all these other things and want to talk about the things that they want to talk about, right? It's like they're narrowing and they're completely dismissing their audience. They're completely dismissing most Democrats, right? I don't know the statistics. I posted some on my channel. Maybe I'll find some and post, but politically, voters they don't want this to continue, and they don't want it to be funded by American tax dollars, right? And the Free Palestine issue has always been a leftist issue. And then so most Democrats are already of that mindset right? So why is she only, I mean, she has this huge platform, this huge opportunity for education and historical references, but she'll say, oh, I stay out of the Middle East. But so is that saying that like when the president does something that, you know, is significant, that most people want, that you're not going to address it and you're just going to sort of talk about these superficial things? I was looking for the, anyway, so yeah, so he's MIA. He's MIA. Like, I don't know, maybe he's busy doing the peace deals, you know? All right, let's go. Let's keep watching and then we'll wrap it up here.
But you know who is out front is JD Vance. And, you know, this is actually really interesting because, you know, it certainly looks increasingly as if Trump is unable to fulfill the requirements of the presidency. And you know, we've talked about the fact that this is not unusual. I mean, it's not unprecedented. We could make a whole long list here, right?
I'm sorry. I also wanted to add here that if you go to the, this is important to actually see. So if you go to her page, you'll also see the comment section, right? I don't know how I got here to this here. I'll have to, oh, here we go, the comments.
Make a list before we came on here. Yeah, of presidents who were basically not being president when they were president for one reason or another, for health or for other. But your point at when we were talking about
other reasons.
Well, I was being diplomatic.
So, you know, and you might even go all the way back to James Buchanan, who, you know, many of his decisions weren't made by him, although he was mentally competent. I think he just wasn't a very forceful personality. And then, you know, of course, Thomas Jefferson was completely gaga. He couldn't do anything. And
I have to ask this. People are asking,
I can't believe you let me get away with that.
I know, because I was distracted. Is your window open?
Yeah. Shut
it. Yeah, because it sounds like there's wind or something.
Yes. That's because the place I'm in is 0 degrees, but I'll go close it.
Okay.
So this is what I wanted to show.
It is the wind. And I couldn't figure out what it was. People are asking, and
this is what I wanted to show because the comment section is part of this as well. Somebody wrote in the comment section, I saw him, meaning Trump, on the Today Show this morning. He was behind the Resolute desk talking about the acceptance by Hamas of the peace agreement. I don't know if you could see that. So even her comment section is bringing up the fact that, like, y'all are saying, where is he? Well, we just saw him, right? And then if you even go to his, if you're talking about his Truth Social posts, I mean, he even posted the video of him at the Resolute desk, right? So it's like, what are they up to in trying to frame him as, you know, as such?
Yeah, okay. And now I'll just sort of tap dance on my own. She's closing the window for folks who just tuned in.
Close back. And now it's cold, but it's all right. I got a blanket here. Okay. So, but they always had people around them who kept things going. I mean, Woodrow Wilson's wife, Henry Kissinger, telling people
who were responsible and able and tuned into what was happening in a way that GASP was actually thinking about the general whole of the country and not necessarily one person or two people or 8 people in a room, and what would help them financially and otherwise.
So now it appears we have first Elon Musk and now Russell Vought and Stephen Miller and Kristi Noem to some degree. But if you're believing the reports that are coming out of places like The Guardian and the New York Times and so on, Stephen Miller really seems to be the driving force in the White House, calling the shots for the Secretary of Defense, the Attorney General, the Secretary of State.
More and more publicity, right? I mean, his name is out there more and more.
Does he not seem?
But yeah, so he is seemingly like
he seems
pretty sharp, and at least claiming in one way or another to, you know, sort of beating his chest in kind of a way of saying, here we are, we're doing the right thing, and I am at the center of crush, destroy, kill. That's like that robot from Lost in Space. Kill, crush, destroy.
You see, Trump has to be a narcissist for them to, right? We have to be doing personality politics in order for the way that they're framing this to make sense. But the interesting thing about what was it that XF said? A communal narcissist. A communal narcissist, if they get praised for it, it's like positive reinforcement. If they get praised for it, they like that, right? Like a showman, right? Like why someone's an entertainer, why a comedian does what they do to an extent. They like the praise. They like the well done. They like the attention, right? And so that's why they do the things that people want. You see? He gets satisfaction out of doing what people want, right? And so we know based on big data analytics what people want, what most people want, right? So this is the difference in power over versus power through giving people what they prefer. And this is the shift that we've seen from the previous administration, and even before that, but again, in the Trump era and the big data analytics, knowing what most people prefer. But anyway, please go on.
The shorthand for Stephen Miller. So that is kind of what he's doing now.
So that to me raises a bunch of really interesting questions. So the first of them is that comes from another video that Trump posted that got very little relative attention because it seemed so frivolous. It was one that seemed to suggest that if in fact the country got rid of undocumented immigrants, we would go back to a period which is essentially the late 1960s, 1970s, and early 1980s, which are Trump's glory days. I thought that was absolutely freaking bizarre. Like we're trying to get back to his happy place.
Well, it's all about his happy place, right? I mean, we agree, and we've talked about this before, that when he first ran for president, his first term, he did not really want to be president. And that was apparent all over his face and in his body language when it became clear that he was becoming president, right? Even now, everything that we're talking about now and everything that you're saying now suggests he really isn't interested in being president other than for the fact that it's gaining him a lot of money. He can get a lot of attention. People treat him like he's important. And he can parade around and sort of act like a king. But as far as
he didn't need to run the first time. Okay. He had assurances somehow, right? And so this is not a business move as far as him making more money. That's not what he's doing it for. And getting a lot of attention. He was way far more liked before he ran for office and got way more positive reinforcement, right? This is just taking the artifacts and you're taking the evidence and it looks like you're doing the work of going to his social media, checking out his messaging, but you're inverting it and you're making it, you're getting it wrong, and you're making it through your lens of observation of the way that you are viewing him through this, again, narcissistic, he has to be this in order for this to make sense, for your narrative to make sense.
As far as the actual office and anything about the actual office and doing anything with the office, he doesn't really have interest in that. He's just letting, as you just suggested, people around him steer what's happening with the presidency. So he seemingly is not really interested in being president.
He actually doesn't. And so he used the contractors, like him doing the ballroom, as an example of how he likes to be in charge of his projects. Like, yes, he delegates, but he likes to be in charge of his projects because he likes to do it the way that he feels is right. So he still is the number one guy. He's the one that you talk to. He's the decision maker. You see, he's not like past presidents who are not decision makers, right? Do you know what a decision maker is? Like somebody like in a business, if you're like cold calling somebody, or if you're trying to make if you're trying to sell your product, right? You need to get to the decision maker, the person who is not the gatekeeper, the person who is actually going to, in that moment, make a decision, make a buying decision. Okay. So he's not he's delegating within his realm of authority and ability, and he has to delegate. It's so silly to go on this assumption that like he wouldn't be delegating. as the president of the United States?
Interested in sitting in the presidency and sort of letting the office give him things.
So that does raise, first of all, the question of his competence. You know, that interview he did with Yamiche Alcindor, where he suggested that his understanding of what was happening in Portland was formed by things that happened 5 years ago that the Fox News channel is replaying, even though they're 5 years out of date.
Right? He said that publicly is the thing. Like, am I wrong about what I'm seeing? That's what's.
Okay, so we could go on and on and on, and we will catch up with this probably maybe tomorrow. Hopefully, I had sort of a busy week last week. Hopefully, I can get on and do some more this week and work on these things and kind of flesh them out. So hopefully, this was as good for you as it was for me, and covered a few different things today, and I hope to be able to continue. So thank you so much for joining me today. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.